Hello, we are live. We're back again. Um, doing the monthly live stream where I rank every single movie I watched in this month. Although unfortunately I missed out on January, so we're gonna be doing both January and February. And as you can see, I watched 60 movies in January and February, so quite a bit so far this what do you call it, this year. Can't believe we're already 2 months in, huh? So yeah, this is in the order of when I watched it. I haven't done it in the order of the movies I watched in the previous live streams, so I'm gonna try to do that now. And of course, sometime in the middle, if you guys can remind me, I'll talk about the music that I've listened to this month as well, since I also like music. With that said, let's stop wasting time. Throat's not dry. Um, I started off the year. No, it wasn't Rick. Yeah, it was Stranger Things season 5. Okay, I was about to say, I think I started the year off with a Ricky Gervais special, but no, that was the last movie I saw of last year. And like that Ricky Gervais special, not a great way to end or start things for the year. Me and my mom have been watching Stranger Things season 5, and to be honest, I haven't been really enjoying season 5. Like I didn't like really enjoy the last few episodes. I felt like the CGI, the writing, even the acting kind of felt a little bit like worse than the previous seasons, if you get what I mean. Um, and there's like a ton of reasons for that I could like go through, but if you've seen the show, you probably know that season 5 isn't the best of the show. I think it's easily the worst season so far. A lot of scenes where characters just like explain stuff and use like these two objects to explain it, and everything's so over dramatic. It's like a overblown Disney Channel show at times, just through its tone. And I just it's very different from like the horror tone that was present in the first two seasons, maybe even some parts of season 3. Now it just feels too comedic, and there's too many characters, and there's absolutely no tension since they're not killing off anybody. And I'm not saying like every show needs to be Game of Thrones or The Walking Dead where a character has to die every episode or something. I'm just saying like when the scale is this high, it's the final episode, and this is like the ending of the show, like the climax, and you have like this monster here, and there's like a bunch of like demons trying to take over the world, and nobody dies. None of the main characters even like get hurt or injured. They're all fine. Kind of feels a little bit, it lacks tension. I did not think anybody was going to die in the final episode. Hell, when 11 dies, or dies like in quotation marks, I'll get to that later. Like, I was actually taken off guard because I really thought the show didn't have the balls to kill off anybody. And I was proven right. Like, she doesn't even die, there's like a theory about it. So even if it just feels too safe, which shouldn't be a word used for like the final season. It should like take you off guard. It should be like a lot of twists and stuff. But I just feel like it was lukewarm. It was and the final episode. That's what I'm talking about. We're talking about the finale of the show. Um, yeah, I mean it's okay. It's better than some other episodes of season 5, but really it was like 2 hours of just like no tension, and this again the CGI, some parts of it, especially the green screen at the end when they're in that other world, it felt a little bit flat to me. Like, where's the budget going? Um, what else? Vecna dies too easily. Oh, the first hour of like the episode is like all the action, which isn't really that good to begin with, but it's all the action. And then the second half is just conclusion, 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 and they don't leave anything up to the air except for like a few characters that we don't see again. Um, and then you like really think about it, and there's also like some plot holes, and some things are left unresolved at the end of the show that they don't come back to. Yeah, it's just a very messy, poorly written season, and the final episode, which I saw on streaming, was pretty bad too. I'm gonna put this D tier. Yeah, definitely not my favorite of the year. Definitely a poor way to start it. Then I followed that up with The Hateful Eight because I needed to watch something good, and well, that's my second favorite movie of all time. Kind of comes self-explanatory. I feel like I already talked about this, but I'll talk about it again if you want my full thoughts. go watch my Tarantino ranking. It's really good. Like the whole cast, Samuel L. Jackson, Kurt Russell, Walton Goggins. I think they're giving like career best performances in this. The dialogue is like at its best, which when it comes to Tarantino, he's like known for his dialogue. So for the Hateful Eight to be like his best dialogue, that's like kind of crazy and also very appropriate because most of this is just like these group of characters in a cabin and it's just them talking, and most of the tension comes out of that. And sometimes there's some bursts of violence that Tarantino's known for. That's a lot of fun. Like there's one head explosion in this, like someone gets shot in the head and their head explodes. And instead of looking stupid, it's like the coolest thing I've ever seen. Now I want a head explosion in every action movie. Yeah, I love the Hateful Eight, especially the score. The score too is like very, very good. Ennio Morricone is one of the best composers of all time. Um, yeah, my second favorite Western movie and my second favorite movie of all time. Of course, it's going in S tier. Just a beautifully shot, very cleverly written movie. Keeps you entertained even though it's only in one setting. Like, yeah, this was really good. Then I saw Song Sung Blue, which is that what is it about those Neil Diamond impersonators? It's like a musical with Hugh Jackman and what's her name? She got nominated for an Oscar. I don't know. She should have been nominated. She was good. She was good. I'll give her that. Hugh Jackman too. Hugh Jackman is a really good actor, and he does a very good job. And yeah, both lead performances, really like carry this movie. Even though I wouldn't say it's like great. I think it's just okay. I feel like it kind of goes a little bit too formulaic. The directing is kind of flat. I will say that the performances really carry it, and this does get very emotional. Like the first half is kind of like the standard musical biopic, and then the second half turns into the Iron Claw, just like very, very emotional, very like very dark, like like tonally very dark. With like their lives just falling apart in ways you weren't expecting. And the fact that this is all based off a true story, which who knows what that means? Like these days, if it's based off a true story, it means like I don't know, one of the characters were like a real person. Who knows how true of a story it is? But for a true story is kind of incredible. Like she almost gets hit by the car in the same spot, and the way he dies, is kind of hard to believe. But yeah, it's emotional, and I did like the chemistry. I just want to say I love this. Oh, it was cool to see Michael in what's his name? The guy from The Sopranos. He's in this. I'm watching The Sopranos right now. I'm almost done actually, 5 episodes, and then I'm done with The Sopranos, and I'm gonna watch Game of Thrones, which I'm 3 episodes in. Anyways, the guy who plays Chris in The Sopranos, he's in this. Kind of cool to see him in a movie. He's a good actor. Um, yeah, I mean, sometimes it could feel again, I already said formulaic, but I don't know. There's another word I'm thinking of, just kind of flat too is a little bit flat. But I did like the music. I'll give it this. The music is pretty good. I'm not a big Neil Diamond guy. I actually haven't heard of him until this movie, but I definitely need to look into his stuff and maybe the impersonator stuff or something. Pretty good music. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's okay. I'll put a C tier. I'm glad I watched it. Um, I think I was also in a bad mood when I watched it, so that may be affected. Anyways, um, okay, how am I doing this? So Stranger, no, D tier is 5 stars and below out of 10, 5 stars and below. C tier is 6 to 7 out of 10. Um, B tier is 8 out of 10. I'll give that 8 out of 10. A tier is 9 out of 10, and S tier is 10 out of 10. Just for reference. Okay. So 28 years later, that would go in B tier. I think it's an 8 out of 10. Cillian Murphy, great actor. He does a really good job with Jim in this movie. He's a very likable character. And, I have been kind of tired of zombie movies as of recent, like it's gonna once you see 11 seasons of The Walking Dead and some of the spin-offs and like World War Z and all this, like sometimes like zombie movies can feel a little bit formulaic, like how I used to feel about like Western movies, before I saw the good ones. And probably same thing with this. Like this is a really good zombie movie, and kind of different from most zombie movies, just stylistically, creatively, through all the directing and editing choices and even the music. It's a very different type of zombie movie, even with the zombies themselves, which are, you don't see a lot of the zombies, which is pretty cool, but when they are there, they're like violent, they're rage induced. This movie has a lot of quiet moments that are broken apart by the very loud and rage zombies. I think they're called rage zombies. I don't. Anyways, I really like 20 Years Later. I think I still like 20 Years Later and 20 Years Later The Bone Temple more. Um, Probably because this is very low quality, which I think like benefits the movie at some points. I don't think the low quality of 20 Years Later helps the film as much as most people say it does. Like a lot of people say, "Oh, this movie wouldn't be as good if it wasn't filmed on a refrigerator or whatever. If it wasn't so grainy or low quality, it wouldn't be filmed that well." No, no, I think it would be just as good if it looked like a real movie. If it wasn't like so grainy, if you weren't looking at like 2 pixels the whole film. I think that actually takes away from the experience a little bit. I get where some people are coming from. Like maybe it like adds to the vibe of the movie, the tone, the grimy feel. But no, I don't think that's the case. I think it is actually kind of it takes away from the film a little bit, just like how low quality it is, and kind of makes this hard to watch. So yeah, but no, I did really enjoy it. I almost felt like I was like criticizing the movie too much, but really, I mean, it is a very emotional experience. Very what do you call it? Like a big budget movie too. Like they really cleaned out the streets of England for this, and like there's entire abandoned cities in this, which is honestly really cool to watch. I mean, obviously in like 2020s where there's like big CGI and stuff, you see that every day. But this was before like CGI was that good, so you were just like seeing like New England, like actually, like London actually empty. They really emptied the streets of London, and that's really cool to watch. And also a great score. I think I mentioned that already. The score is really good. So, yeah, I really like 20 Years Later, Days Later, one of the better zombie movies I've seen, and I can see why it's a classic. Then I watched Project A. I think my next video is either gonna be a video on The Sopranos or a video on Jackie Chan. I've been watching a lot of Jackie Chan movies. I could do a video where I watch 10 Jackie Chan movies and then I like review all of them in order that I've seen them. That's a plan anyways. And yeah, I really like Project A. It's about him fighting a bunch of pirates, but not like our pirates, like more so Chinese pirates or something. I'm not really familiar with like the time period that this takes place or the historical context. But it's a very I mean, as always, Jackie Chan, he's great with action, he's great with stunts, he's great with fight choreography, and this movie like hits all of those out of the park. Like the kung fu is great, especially at the end where they're like fighting that pirate. It's an action comedy. I think Jackie Chan does a really good job with action comedy, like intertwining the action and making it like really funny at the same time while also going, wow, that's a really good stunt right there. Oh, and the stunts are pretty good. I think he almost broke his neck while filming this. So, yeah, I mean, respect to that, right? Excuse me. And, yeah, I mean, what was it? I did like the friend in this movie, his fat friend, good chemistry between the two. With that said, I do think as far as like his comedy goes, this is like the least funny and is trying to be the most funny, but a lot of the jokes just didn't really land for me. I feel like it's for a younger demographic than his other movies, especially compared to Police Story. It feels like it's made for 10-year-olds, which is kind of weird. But also, like that bicycle scene was really great, where they're all like chasing each other on bicycles, and they like smacks her face with like the hedge or something, and that was really cool. Like it was simple, but like it was like really impressive to watch. So any Jackie Chan movie is gonna have like a couple scenes where you go, "Holy hell! How did they did that? How did they do that? That was incredible." And the rest of the movie and the plot surrounding those scenes usually aren't as great. And this is unfortunately one of those films, but still, a lot of fun, and pretty impressive from an action standpoint. and also kind of charismatic, but also not that funny when it tries to be. I'm gonna put this. It's either top of C tier or bottom of B tier. I said this was 8 out of 10s, right? Hmm. Okay, this is 5 and below. This is 6. This is 8 to 7. This is 9, and this is 10. There. Okay, that's better. Then I watch in Deep in the Heart of Texas by Dave Chappelle. I honestly don't remember the special. I don't remember most of the things he talks about, but I do remember it being really, really funny. I just like Dave Chappelle's what do you call it, his storytelling. I think he's like a great storyteller. You know how he's like able to like go on a tangent about like his random life experiences and not only make it like consistently funny but also very engaging. He's a great public speaker but also really funny. And yeah, this like sucked me in. I think this is the one where he talks about OJ and the 3 times he met OJ. I think this was also his first special on his comeback. Like when he was coming back into the comedy landscape, this is like the first one he did, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I'll put it below 28 Days Later. I think that's fair. Yeah. Then I watched Police Story Super Cop. This is the third police story. To understand my background, I think the first Police Story is the best action movie of all time. Police Story 2 is not so much. Police Story 2 is decent, but not great. It's not good. It's not that good. Not bad. Not bad by any means. I don't want to sound like that. Like it was decent, just not as much as a fun time, a big step down, and I felt like the tone was off. It wasn't as like it wasn't really action comedy, just an action movie with some comedy. And I don't think Jackie Chan does a good job with that, or it doesn't really like fit his style. Although the action is generally great, not as good as the first film, but still great in Police Story 2. And the third police story, I think, is better than the second one. I think it's pretty good. Michelle Yeoh and Jackie Chan, they have like really good banter. Like they were like both the biggest Japanese action movie stars at the time, or Hong Kong. I'm sorry, Asian action movie stars at the time, and they have like great banter. You could like feel this was like a big event back then. There's a scene where Jackie Chan like hangs off a helicopter and it goes up like 1,000 feet in the air. Like he's going higher than the skyscrapers. And I don't even think there's like wire to like hold him up. If there is a wire, it's very like thin. But I don't think so. He was just like hanging off of like a rope ladder, connected to a helicopter and going like 1,000 feet in the air. He was doing what Tom Cruise does in Mission Impossible 6 back in the 1990s when it was like even less safe and I think even higher up than what when Tom Cruise was doing it. Excuse me. And even though I'd say like fight choreography wise, it's not as good. I think this is actually the weakest fight choreography, the weakest kung fu of his career, and also compared to the first two police stories and the rest of his filmography as a whole, except for Rush Hour, I think it's also the most Americanized Jackie Chan film, with its like score being a lot more upbeat. Also, it like completely drops the score from the first two police stories, which sucks. I think the theme song for Police Story is actually like really good. I love that one, but they kind of like abandoned it, which kind of sucks. Um, and they replaced it with a more '90s upbeat action movie theme. So yeah, the kung fu isn't as great. None of the comedy really worked for me, but at the same time, the stunts are really good, and the action scenes did like really like suck me in, like especially that chase scene at the end. But like especially the stunts where like Michelle Yeoh like jumps onto a helicopter and a motorcycle and she did like multiple times and she almost died while doing it. And Jackie Chan like zip lines down a mountain and does that helicopter stunt that I was talking about earlier. There's a lot of stunts that just like completely take you off guard, like Mission Impossible type stunts right there. And not only that, but very situational too. Like Police Story 2, I don't think had as much situational humor, which I think Jackie Chan is really good at. But this has like a lot of like very snappy situations that they get into. It's very entertaining in that sense. So Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's as good as the first. I don't think there's many movies as good as the first. I generally think that's the best action movie of all time. But definitely the strongest sequel, at least compared to Police Story 2, and I heard the two after this isn't that good either. So, I'm gonna put this below 28 Days Later and above the Dave Chappelle special. Then I watched No Other Choice, also known as a movie that was completely snubbed at the Oscars. This was directed by Park Chan, I think. Forgive me if I like mispronounce his name. I forgot what else he directed. I think he's like, oh, he directed Old Boy. That's right. This is from the director Old Boy, and it stars a guy from Squid Games, who's also like a big actor. I'm not really like that familiar with like Japanese cinema. I mean, obviously I'm like watching a bunch of Jackie Chan movies, but like when it comes to like modern day, like I know Parasite, I know no, that's it. It's just Parasite in this movie. And yeah, I oh, Mickey 7 no. No, Mickey 17's an American movie just directed by the Parasite guy. See what I mean? Like, I'm not really familiar with like foreign cinema. But this was really good and very different from like any movie I've seen from last year. I think 2025 was like one of the best years of movies in general. That may be a hot take, but I really love maybe because I experienced it, but definitely like one of my favorite years of movies, at least when I was alive. And yeah, I mean, the main performance from the Squid Games guy, who I forgot the name of, but definitely should know. He does a fantastic job. He should have been nominated for Best Actor. His desperation and like the emotion behind his performance is like it just like shines through and really like carries this movie and makes you understand why he's doing all this terrible stuff just to like get a promotion. And I also really love the final scene too. It kind of like brings together all the themes. You finally understand, oh, that's what this movie is talking about. That's what the message of this movie is. That's the point, you know? And I really like when movies are able to do that. I don't think it really like I don't really think it comes together at the end. I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece, like a few others are saying. I think that has to do with the fact that like there were some reviews before I watched this movie that this was like a rated R Looney Tunes, like this was like an ultra violent live action cartoon. And I don't know where those reviews were coming from. That's like straight bullshit. There's just like nothing cartoony about this movie. It's very realistic with its violence. It's not even that violent, like some violent scenes, some kind of gross scenes, but also like more disturbingly violent, especially that final kill. Nothing really that comedic. It's not really a dark comedy, except for like a couple of scenes. I felt like if they like doubled down on either being darkly comedic, like a dark comedy or being more serious and more emotional, I felt like I would enjoy this more, but it kind of goes for like a halfway point, which didn't really resonate with me. With that said, the performances and especially the directing, like there's a lot of dissolve shots that are like really good shots. How did I say that? I don't know. Anyways, great movie. Definitely should have been nominated for a couple of things, but I don't care about the Oscars anymore, so let's just move on. Then I watched Bill Burr Paper Tiger. And I gotta say, like, I thought I'd get tired of Bill Burr. Like, well, as a person, I probably am now, but like, like his comedy style, his like very abrasive comedy style, where he's just basically like yelling into the microphone like the entire 90 minutes. Like, you feel like that would get tired after watching a few of his specials, but like three specials in, I still really like his style. Bill Burr is a very funny guy, and like his like angry stick, like being like this angry man, kind of like gives him a fresh voice. And even if it's like replicated by a lot of people, he's the first one doing it. It gives him like a fresh voice in the stand-up comedy landscape. I've been watching a lot of stand-up comedy recently. Been rewatching a bunch of John Mulaney, and then I got into Dave Chappelle, and I'm trying to get into Richard Pryor, and I watched a Robin Williams one, which honestly I didn't like as much, but I definitely need to get into more Robin Williams. Robin Williams, that was a bad voice crack. And I'm saying all this because I don't actually remember the special, and I think I'm gonna put it below Project A. But I do think I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it. It is a good. I mean, I remember liking it. I think I gave it 4 stars on Letterboxd, which actually should put it like above Project A. But yeah, I can't really remember any specific skits, and if I am remembering it, I think it's from a different special. So excuse me. Then I watched Donnie Darko, and I'm gonna be real. This movie's overrated, and I did not understand 1 second of it. This was a weird movie. This was a very weird movie, Donnie Darko. I don't even know where to start. Like, it's just like, well, for one, I didn't really like follow the plot that much. I know it's about this guy who like survives, this teenager who's like kind of mentally ill, and I do like how throughout the film you're kind of wondering how much of it is in his head and how much is actually happening. Um, but like he almost gets killed, and then he survives, but then it, like leads to a bunch of other stuff like butterfly effect, so he goes back in time to kill himself. I guess I don't actually know. It's a very weird movie, kind of confusing, and it was surprisingly gripping. Like I was like invested in most parts of this, and Jake Gyllenhaal gives a good performance. But I also think I usually don't like using this word when like reviewing movies, but I have to do it here. Like this is a very pretentious movie that I feel like thinks it's smarter than it actually is, or thinks it's more like intelligent than it actually is. I don't know. It just didn't really give me a lot to chew on at the end. It was just like a very confusing experience. I mean, I did enjoy it. Like for all the negatives I'm giving you, like the fact that I did enjoy this movie and had a good time watching it for the most part, is pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, I'll put it like top of C tier, I guess. Um, then I watched another Dave Chappelle. I just put these two Dave Chappelle specials around here. Um, well, actually, yeah, this one's weaker than the Bird Revelation. The Bird Revelation I actually really like. I think it's some of his strongest material at the time. But Equanimity, I can't like say that name. Is one of his weakest specials, admittedly. It did have, I mean, again, a lot of his storytelling, but not a lot of the laughs. I feel like it's one of the only specials where I can confidently say that he just does too much storytelling and not enough jokes. And also one of his like weakest sets, like he just does this in like a small auditorium, which I didn't really think matters in like a stand-up special, but surprisingly like does take away from the experience of watching on Netflix. And then the bird production I really like, so I'll put that above Project A. Then I watched the Mayor Witch stories, and yeah, I mean, I kind of got into what's his face? I kind of got into Nia Bossy. Okay, I'll look it up. What is it? The Mayor Witch. I'm completely butchering this. Which stories? This. Okay. Yeah, I was never gonna. Meyerowitz stories, directed by Noah Baumbach. Noah Baumbach. Am I saying that right? Anyways, I've been getting to. Oh, was he involved with this? No, he wasn't. Yeah, this movie wasn't that good. Of course, he isn't. Noah Baumbach. I've been kind of like getting into his filmography. I haven't seen Jay Kelly. I don't think I'm gonna watch Jay Kelly. I'm not really interested in that. I have been getting into his films that end up being full like really good dialogue and also surprisingly investing in like these family problems. He's a good drama writer, I think. And yeah, this is like the first film I saw of him. Minus I think he written Fantastic Mr. Fox. I think another film. Um, Wow, excuse me. And yeah, I really enjoy this one. Definitely one of Adam Sandler's better performances, although he has been doing a good job with that. And one of Ben Stiller's good performances too. Like he does a pretty good job in this. I was very invested in like this family and like their dynamic. I just think, the more I think, oh, look at this, the more I want to put Project A at the top of C tier. Which doesn't mean it's bad by any means. It's decent. Just yeah, this feels right. This feels right. Anyways, like good dialogue and such. I don't really have much to say about it. I do feel like some of the story beats kind of repeated in The Squid and a Whale, which is also made by Noah Busmash, so I'll get to later. But at the same time, a pretty interesting film, and it was entertaining to say the least. So Yeah, I'm gonna put this above the bird. No, yeah, right there, right there. Then I watched a Bad Trip, and kind of a frustrating experience because I really like the concept of this. Like, it's very cliche buddy cop comedy. No, buddy comedy is a very cliche buddy comedy road trip movie that I've seen many, many times, but it's done in real places and with people reacting. It's kind of like the Eric Andre show, which I think I saw an episode of these past few months. It's like it's that prank camera show you see with Impractical Jokers and Eric Andre, but it's following the formula of a cliche comedy movie, and I think that's a really cool concept. I'll say that, like, it's a really cool concept. But I do feel like sometimes it's not that funny. There are some fun, really funny gags in this, but also some that just kind of fell flat for me. And overall, I do think the score is like the biggest detractor. Like, recently, I've been finding a lot of movies where I think the soundtrack is like the biggest detractor of that movie, and that's no, it is kind of annoying. The soundtrack of this one is a big detractor of the quality of the film. So yeah, I mean, it's funny at times, but also not funny at times is the best way I could say it. But right below Song Sung Blue. Earlier, I was saying Sung Sing Blue, but Song Sung Blue. Bad title. I will say this. I like the movie, but bad title. Song Sung Blue. Anyways, then I watched Drunken Master. Again, another Jackie Chan movie. This time, whenever he gets drunk, he's like really good. And that obviously plays into his action comedy roots. This is actually one of his first movies, and also I think the one that really like brought him to the spotlight. And yeah, I think this is his best fight choreography. Not his best stunts, and not the his best movie, but I think like the best like actual kung fu. The best actual like stunts and fights, and probably his swiftest moves when it comes to his fighting style, which makes sense because this is his one of his first movies. And also like plays into the comedy aspect a lot. I think he gives a very charismatic performance. He has like great banter with this old guy, and yeah, I mean, I just like really like the comedy, and like whenever you get drunk, you're like really good at fighting, and how he kind of like how is like how he's like able to physicalize that with his body movements, how he's like drunk but also really good at fighting, and that one scene where like that guy's trying to fight him, and every time there's a pause, he's like drinking the beer to get better at fighting. That's really cool. So yeah, definitely, I think this is his third best movie behind Super Cop. Put this above the Bird Revelation, I think. Yeah. Then I watched Coherence, and I will say, as far as like low budget movies go, especially low budget directorial debuts, I think this is the best. I mean, Reservoir Dogs is a better movie, don't get me wrong. Um, but at the same time, I think this movie does what Reservoir Dogs does really well, even better. I mean, not all the things, but like one thing I've realized about Reservoir Dogs is that it doesn't really occur to you how low budget the film is. Like, you hear helicopters and you see like two police cars, but like you never actually like see the helicopters or see the manhunt or even see the bank robbery, which is like one of the more like prominent examples of like tell don't show that the film uses really expertly. It never really occurs to you. It never really occurs to you that there's no helicopters in the film or something like that. You're just like, yeah, you don't need to show that. I mean, it just like feels natural that you wouldn't show that. So yeah, I think Reservoir Dogs is like a great example of a low budget film that doesn't feel low budget. It feels appropriately budgeted, and never really occurs to you how low budget it is. I'm saying that because I think Coherence does that better. Because Coherence, I think, was made in a budget of like 1,000 or maybe even less than 1,000. Definitely less than 10,000. It's all these like amateur actors and amateur quote unquote because they're really good in this, but like not well-known actors who just stay in this one room. Like most of the movie takes place in like this one room, and just it. Most of it is them talking in this room, and sometimes they go outside the room, which is like a big part of the film. Excuse me. There we go. And despite all of that, despite having like less than $10,000 in the budget, despite being so low budget, only taking place in one film, this is a sci-fi movie, and it's generally one of the best sci-fi thrillers that I have seen. Like it pulls you in. It's so engaging, and you like really get like into these characters and the situation they're in, and it's about alternate realities. And this is like one of the best multiverse movies I've seen. I like this more than well, what's his name? Everything Everywhere All at Once. I like this more than that. Um, it's a really good thriller. It like keeps you on your toes and is really intense. And again, all this being a sci-fi film, being a great film about multiple realities and with this big complicated concept that you follow. And it's a 90-minute, $10,000 budget film that takes place in this one room aside for a couple of scenes. That's really cool. That's really impressive. And generally like one of the best low budget films I've seen in recent times. I'll put it top of A tier. And yeah, I just like I was shocked by how good this movie is. It's really good for like a low budget film. Um, and I watched this, like pretty funny for a 3 hour movie. Very entertaining. Something's always happening, and I think one of the best efforts from one of the best directors. I'm gonna put right below the Hateful Eight. I watched Bill Burr live at Red Rock. And I will admit, aside from what I've been saying earlier about Bill Burr not really, I haven't really gotten tired of Bill Burr and Stick. I do think this one kind of pushed it a little bit. I think that partly comes from the fact that this is 90 minutes long. This may be a hot take, but comedy specials shouldn't be 90 minutes long. Maybe for the people who went there live and went out there to a big stadium and bought the tickets, it should be 90 minutes. But like, I don't know, this format where you're just talking to a microphone has to be like really top notch, like John Mulaney type shit to be like 90 minutes long. I don't think Bill Burr's John Mulaney. He's good. He's really good. I really like him, but I don't think he's John Mulaney. And this is a little bit too long. And again, sometimes his old man shtick, his angry old man shtick just gets a little bit tired. And yeah, I mean, I'll put this below Project A and above Donnie Darko. That seems right. Then I watched Frances Ha. I think this is the first movie I saw with Greta Gerwig. She's like a big name, but this is like the first Greta Gerwig movie. I think it is it. Let me see. I mean, he didn't make it. I know he didn't make it, but here this is another Luca Budaniego film. I did not say that right. Did I just say? Oh, that's definitely not how you spell that. That is Oof. Let's see. Oh no, she's in Isle of Dogs. Okay. And the Mayor Witch Stories. I don't remember it being that. Anyways, this is the third film I've seen for, I guess, basically the second. Well, basically the first. She's the main character. Anyways, yeah, she gives a good performance. It's a film about nothing basically, just like this dancer who's really down on her luck and she's poor, and it's kind of a comedy, but also kind of like a very realistic depiction of someone in their 20s in 2010 trying to get a job. Um, Surprisingly hopeful too. And it kind of like gets you hopes up, like one of those films that makes you think everything's gonna be okay at the end. That's a cool feeling to have after watching film. Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was entertaining. I wouldn't say it's great, but it was good. It was good. I'll put it. Uh, oh shoot! I'm so sorry. Excuse me. I'll put above Paper Tired and below Deep in the Heart. That seems fair. Actually, I think I like this more than Super Cop. I'm gonna put it above Super Cop because I really did like these characters and such. And actually, I think right above that would be a Squid and the Whale. Also directed by Luca Bucacamo. Oh no, I don't know. Um, I'm trying. I'm trying. I really don't know how to say his name. But yeah, this one very Wes Anderson like. Like, this film he wrote some Wes Anderson films. All his films are a little bit Wes Anderson like, but this more so than any other film that he's made is very Wes Anderson like. Like You really get interested in this like this very odd family and their divorce. Yeah, and I think what's his name? Jesse Eisenberg is in this, and he gives a pretty good performance. I think one of his best. Even he's like playing himself again. He doesn't have a lot of range. It fits his character quite well. It does like does well like invoking the emotions needed for a film like this. Surprisingly, I think it's a comedy, but it's like very surprisingly intense, which I think is like comes with it. Like it's a film about divorce and his family like breaking together, but it's very intense for a drama. Um, and yeah, I mean, you really do get invested in his characters and their situation, and I had a lot of fun with it. I don't know, nothing else to say there. A Futile and Stupid Jester is a biopic about what was it called? The guys behind Animal House, and how they like created that magazine strip, or it wasn't Animal House, it was National Lampoon. Sorry, National Lampoon, and that comic strip, and National Lampoon. They have like a great place in comedy history. They were behind Caddyshack. They were what made Chevy Chase and John Belushi thing. They were the guys behind obviously Animal House, which I actually don't like that much. I never finished it. Also, Christmas Vacation and all those films, and all that to say that this isn't a great biopic. I mean, I will admit I was entertained throughout it. Like this was a constantly entertaining film. I feel like all the fourth wall breaks were more stupid and tired than actually interesting and clever. And a lot of the jokes too were as clever as they could have been. The characters were kind of emotionally disconnected. Like nothing's really taken seriously, which I guess is a point, but just kind of makes the characters feel more annoying than like charismatic, and kind of skips through like a few parts of history that I felt like I wanted to learn more about. And again, for like a film that's like about the making of all these like classic comedy movies and all the weird stuff that happened in the production that could be equally as funny. This is a really funny movie. I didn't laugh that much. I think a couple times I laughed. It's like trying to be witty and trying to be funny like at all times only works like a few times. It's just like not as clever as it's trying to be. So I'm gonna put bottom of C tier. I won't put a D tier exactly. I did find it like entertaining, but like nothing great. Then I watched Wake Up Dead Man, the third Knives Out movie, and like the rest of the Knives Out movies, I instantly rewatched it just like a month or two after watching it the first time. And I have a pretty strong feeling I'm gonna rewatch it quite a bit afterwards. It's a very fun mystery movie. I think this trilogy is like the only mystery movies I would say are actually like rewatchable. Like the mystery genre, by theory, isn't like a rewatchable genre because like, oh, I already know who the killer is. I know how this mystery plays out. I'm not, but the Knives Out movies not only are like great mysteries that have like more than one twist every time. There's like a few twists in there, but also remembers to be fun and have like likable and energetic characters and just have like a fun ride too, where like you can rewatch it a few times even if you know the mystery and you know the answer. And that's the same with Wake Up Dead Man. But at the same time, it's also the darkest of the trilogy. It actually has themes about religion and Christianity that isn't just like Christianity bad like a lot of these Hollywood movies tend to do, or Christianity good, or it doesn't like take a black and white side with it. Actually, you actually like see the good in Christianity, how some people can twist that and make it like less than good. And I found that very interesting. I found the dynamic between Jacob Lordy's character is one of the best characters in the trilogy, is dynamic with Benoit Blanc and Josh Brolin's character. And Josh Brolin is giving one of his most entertaining and memorable performances in this, and he's already a great actor. And Jacob Lordy, I haven't seen him a lot, but I am very interested to see where he goes next. He's a very entertaining actor. So, yeah, I'm gonna put this right in the bottom of S tier. I really enjoyed this. I watched Norm Macdonald's Hitler's Dog, Gossip and Trickery, I think it's called. It's a very weird name, and faintly so, because this is a Norm Macdonald special. I really like Norm Macdonald. I like his comedic timing. I like his way of telling jokes. And this is like a whole hour of that. And there's some really good jokes in here. Some long pauses where I wasn't laughing as much. And some of the jokes were a little bit like anti jokes, which I get is his whole style, but sometimes not that funny. But at the same time, a lot of fun and pretty entertaining. I'll put right there, below Super Cop. Then I watched excuse me. Then I watched The Perfect Neighbor, which is I think a documentary about this guy who not this guy, this woman, this real life woman who used who used the law and like the loopholes around the law for her own racism, and is able to kill this black kid due to like these racist laws, or not racist laws, like these dumb laws, and she's a racist woman. That's basically what this documentary is about. And usually I don't watch a lot of true crime, but I understood what this documentary was doing, that it was kind of like showcasing the problems with the law and like how that could be twisted and turned. And I've for that I found this to be a very important documentary, also being a very gripping experience and a very like edge of your seat experience. This whole film has like a very like dark aura to it, like something's bad about to happen. And I knew nothing about the true story going in, so yeah, kind of shocked that when she killed her. And at the same time, I do think there's one scene in this. Like, usually I'm not someone to like bitch about this or like have a problem with this, but there is one scene that felt a little bit exploitative, where they just like filmed this father telling his kids that their mother is dead. And it's a very it's a very emotional moment. Would be like if this was a movie, it'd be an emotional scene about this father telling his kids that their mother is dead, and having to break that down to them, and they all start crying in his arms. But this isn't a movie. This is real life. This actually happened, and it just kind of felt gross to not only like record this and watch this, but also to like produce this on Netflix for like millions of people to see. I don't think I mean I don't know if it was okay with them, probably. But I don't know if it's really like a good idea. I don't think it's again, I usually don't like have a problem with this. And yeah, I mean if it was okay with them and such. I feel like that's a very like emotionally vulnerable and personal moment that shouldn't have been like shared with like people, so I don't know how I feel about that, but like the rest of the movie was pretty good. So I will put that top of C tier, I think. Um, then I watched 12 Angry Men, which is, again, we were just talking about with coherence, like these films that take place in one room and are low budget, but also very engaging. And I think this film is like the best example of that, like one of the best screenplays ever written, where it's just like these 12 men trying to decide if this person is innocent or not, and like the turns and twists that this plot takes, and all the characters and their motivations and stuff, and even the acting is really good, especially from the guy who gives that monologue at the end. Henry Fonda, really likable as a main character. And yeah, I mean, it's a great film about justice and fighting for justice and what it means to be on jury duty, and that not a lot of films go into. It's just a very like engaging film. I'm put this bottom of S tier, not the top. Then I watched Milk and Cereal, which is like this other low budget film. I've been watching a lot of low budget films. I feel good about myself. I feel good about myself. I'm better than you. I'm better than you. I'm watching independent films, huh? Independent low budget movies, huh? What you watch? Marvel movies? I also watch Marvel movies. I did. I just posted a hour and 45-minute videos about Marvel. But what, you only watch Marvel movies, huh? 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 I watch low budget films. This was on YouTube. I watched this on YouTube, bro. I'm like that. I also saw Bambi too. But yeah, this is like a serial killer film made by these two YouTubers, and as a YouTuber who wants to be a filmmaker, obviously, like that's inspiring to me. I am gonna watch Markiplier's movie Iron Lung at some time. Um, but Yeah, I mean, it's very dark and like very dark for a film, and there is some comedic moments that were pretty interesting. And it is a very engaging film. It has a plot twist I wasn't expecting, and it has a lot of twists and turns that you're not expecting. The Curry Baker or Carrie Baker or what's his name? Corey Baker, I think. He's the director of this. He's also coming out with a new film that has good reviews. This year, he's really, really good at just like directing these like very subversive thriller horror movies that have like interesting premises, and this has a good message about like prank culture and prank channels on YouTube and how that could be twisted. So go watch it if you haven't seen it. It's like a really good one. I'm gonna put this top of C tier. I watched The King of Staten Island, and I am someone who likes Judd Apatow but realizes he's not a perfect director, and I understand if his style doesn't work for you. Even sometimes like his dialogue, his way of the characters talk and his sense of humor and his way of writing does get a little bit repetitive, especially in This Is 40. I think This Is 40 is the first film where I could say his style did not work. But I will say that, like, I do like that his films are not only actually funny for the most part, not including This Is 40, I'm pretty sure The Bubble, which I haven't seen, I heard is pretty bad. Not only is his films most of the time pretty funny, but they're also very character driven, and not in a way that's pretentious or trying too hard, but in like a very like pulled back way, where like the characters in his film are kind of like not including some of his goofier movies like The 40-Year-Old Virgin, the characters in his films are kind of like kind of sad people, like very sad people that you're following. Knocked Up is another film I'm thinking of when I say this, and I think funny people, and this is no exception. And not only do I think this is his best writing, his best like a character-driven story, but I also think it's what really like pushes this above the notch when it comes to Judd Apatow is that it's a very personal story. Maybe not for Judd Apatow himself, but for the two main characters or two main actors. Pete Davidson, his father died in 9/11, and this movie kind of like goes into that a little bit. Well, not like straight up going into that, but his character in this movie, his father was a firefighter, and we see how it affected his life, and you can see that the character is kind of about him. It's like a representation of him and how he feels about his father and feels about firefighters, and his acceptance to what happened to his father is very emotional and very very interesting to watch. And then Bill Burr, I mean, less so, but also Bill Burr, he's been known for his anger issues, and he talks about his comedy specials, and you kind of see that his character in the film kind of like resembles that problem with him, where he's also dealing with anger issues. It's a very personal film for the two main actors that kind of go picks from their real life. I think combined with Judd Apatow's writing, which is again at his strongest, and his character work, and also being from the same cinematographer as There Will Be Blood, I think, which is just like crazy. But it's a very well shot film. And yeah, I was like, I'm surprised to say that I really love this movie. This is easily the best Judd Apatow movies. His most personal film, his saddest film, but also maybe one of his funniest. I would still say Knocked Up is a funnier movie, but definitely the second funniest. And yeah, definitely Judd Apatow's strongest work. I'm gonna put this bottom of eight here. Yeah, gotta appreciate a director that still makes comedies are very character driven. Um, Louis C.K. 2017. So I've also been getting into Louis C.K. and I don't actually really know what happened with him and his controversy. So if anybody wants to educate me on that, I don't know. But yeah, he's a funny guy. Definitely doesn't have like that unique of a voice. Like he's basically just talking, doesn't have like a style and his like delivery that's different from most people. But he's a pretty consistently funny guy, and yeah, I mean this special did kind of take me off guard with how like I say this as a big Ricky Gervais fan, maybe not anymore, but was a big Ricky Gervais fan. Like this is a very raunchy special, the things he talks about. and not even like a truly clever way. Like there's some good jokes, but it's mostly just raunchy stuff. And having seen another one of his specials, hilarious, I'll talk about later. This does seem to be one of his weaker specials, maybe. But at the same time, still pretty funny. I'll put this above Bad Trip and below Sung Sung Blue. Song Sung Blue. Song Sung Blue. I really wish I could just stop saying that name, but I think I'm gonna say it a couple more times. Excuse me. Then I watched Do the Right Thing. I think this is Spike Lee's magnum opus, or at least it's considered that. Or maybe Malcolm X. I think Malcolm X is actually more highly regarded, but this is his debut. No, it's not his debut, but it is one of his first films, I think. And yeah, he stars and directs it, and it's a very interesting film about racism and with a lot of colorful characters. And yeah, I mean, yeah, it's good. It's really great. I really enjoyed this. I'm gonna put this right above The King of Staten Island, I think, and right below No Other Choice. I can't really think that much about it actually right now, so I'm gonna just say that for maybe a future Spike Lee movie video. Maybe, I don't know. Then I watched The Death of a Salesman, the 1960s one, starring what's his face. It was made in the 1960s, and yeah, I mean, I feel like this is a film that could definitely be remade today, like The Great Gatsby. Just like make a definitive adaptation of this book, because in all honesty, like just directing wise, it's not that great. Like I think the main actor is really good. What's his name? He does a really good job. Like acting as Willie Loman, and just gonna, and I find And I just talking about the story itself, I think it's a good story, and I find characters like Willie Loman very resonant to me. Like characters who are like down on their luck, who had high hopes, high hopes, high dreams, and just like completely fail and fall flat, and they're just like failures in life, and they can't really like they have like they hold a lot of resentment. I find those characters like very interesting to watch, and yeah, Willie Loman is definitely like the benchmark. And honestly, I see a lot of similarities between Willie Loman and Walter White for those who have seen Breaking Bad, or at least like early Walter White. And I really like the way this actor portrays him. I think it's regarded as the best portrayal as Willie Loman in film history. And he plays him as kind of like dehydrated or exhausted in the film, like he's very tired, and that really fits the character that he's trying to portray here. And yeah, I just feel like the directing could be better, and it was a little bit confusing. I felt like the book was a clearer experience than the actual movie. But yeah, it was okay. Excuse me. I'll put a bottom C tier. Yeah. Um. Yeah. So far, so good. I think. I'm burping a lot. Usually, I'm better at what do you call it? Talking. Not today for some reason. Anyways, then I watched Moonrise Kingdom, directed by Wes Anderson, and this has always been one of my favorite Wes Anderson movies, and I'm happy to say that it's held up really well. And I'm also happy to say that I think I'm like fully into Wes Anderson now. Like there was like a number of years, like in recently, where I just haven't been into Wes Anderson, from Asteroid City to the Fenosian Scheme. But after watching the Fenosian Scheme, I really liked that, and then I watched Fantastic Mr. Fox, and I watched Grand Budapest Hotel, and then I watched The Royal Tenenbaums, and then I watched that train movie, dude, Adrian Brody, that takes place in India, and then The Darling Unlimited, and I watched The Adventures of Steve Zissou, which is considered one of his weaker films. I really like that, and now I'm happy to say with Moonrise Kingdom, like I really like Wes Anderson. I think he's a really good director. And this film especially, it's very comedic. It's very drama focused, and has a lot of characters that you follow. Some of his like best characters. What's his name? From Die Hard, Bruce Willis. Unfortunate that he wasn't in more Wes Anderson movies. He fits his style pretty good, surprisingly enough. And yeah, one of his stronger casts. And I find this very low stakes story about these two teenagers that fall in love and go into the wilderness. Very very not only like emotional and heartfelt, but also very fun to watch. So I'm gonna put it top of B tier. I think it's better than 28 days later. Um. Then I watched Brightburn, and if you don't know what this is basically evil Superman. It's a film about like Superman who like goes onto a farm, but he's a psychopath. But not really. One second. Uh, he he's like controlled by this like alien race, I think. Basically, like, one day, like, his ship, like, a button on his ship, like, turns on, and then he just, like, completely turns evil. And that's it. I just feel like that's like the biggest disappointment they could have done with like the story. I find the idea of an evil Superman as overdone as it is with like Homelander and even the DCEU. I find that a very intriguing concept, and this movie just does nothing with that. He just turns evil on like a night, because he's possessed or something. I find the idea of like this kid who's kind of a psychopath who gets bullied or something, and you kind of see that transformation. I felt like that could have been very interesting to watch, but this movie doesn't do that. And it's very like one note characters who aren't that complex, who have like one thing going for them. And there's a couple of good kills here, like like a film about Superman who kills people. That's honestly pretty terrifying, to say the least. Also, some very poor character decisions, lapse of judgments, poor writing, stupid writing, and also just like not very interesting character study of a kid who turns evil, who has Superman's powers. I felt like you could have done something better with that. So I'm gonna say this is the worst film I saw so far this year, although there is a couple worse that are coming up. And yeah, it is very bloody though. Like the scene where like that guy's jaw like completely dislocates, and it's like the actor from Breaking Bad, by the way. He's pretty funny, but his jaw just like dislocates, and he's like trying to pull it up, and then he dies, and it just like comes all the way down. Like it's like his whole like face just kind of like, but like falls in half. Like that was like a really cool scene to watch. I'm not gonna lie, that was some really good gore right there. So, mm, excuse me. Oh. I do think it has one of the worst post-credit scenes I've seen with Michael Rooker. That was just kind of like tonally stupid. Um, and then I watched Paths of Glory, which is Stanley Kubrick's war classic, kind of anti-war classic. All the great war movies are anti-war, and yeah, I mean, I really like how this film like shows the cruelty of like the Allies, like putting their soldiers and not really caring about the soldiers, and you kind of see that, and with the generals, and the general may be one of the most unlikable characters in movie history. The actor did a really good job with him. And Roy Snyder, he's giving one of the best performances of it. Not Roy Snyder, Michael Douglas. Sorry, not Michael Douglas too. Kurt Douglas. Wow, I just messed up the main actor here. Even though I really like his performance, I just messed up his name like two times. I got him mixed up with two people. That's my bad. Kurt. Okay, wait. I'm gonna actually check. It's Past the Glory, right? Let's see. Okay. Yeah, it is Kurt Douglas. Okay. Kurt Douglas, he gives a great performance. I haven't seen him in a lot, but I definitely need to see him in more. Um, he looks a lot like Michael Douglas, that's true. And yeah, Stanley Kubrick, he does a good job directing this. I really like the battle sequence. and everything that happens after a battle sequence and all the cruelty and dark stuff that happens with what happens to the soldiers and that one guy who gets executed while he's on his deathbed. Like, that was pretty dark and almost like darkly comedic scene, to be honest with you. And yeah, it's a very intriguing film. I'm gonna put it below Squid and Whale, though, surprisingly enough. Even though this is a very well crafted film, I can't say there's anything wrong with it. I wouldn't say it didn't really resonate with me that much as well. So, one of those films that are like very highly regarded, and I think is a great film, but I just can't say I enjoyed too much, you know? Um, yeah. One second. Oh, that's right. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. I watched 20 years later, The Bone Temple, which is the first movie I saw that came out this year, I think. And yeah, I mean, it's generally great. I think it's almost as good as 28 years later, although I do think the editing and Danny Boyle's directing was a little bit better, but the directing here is pretty good too. And it does some stuff that I've never seen in a zombie movie before, you know? Excuse me. I mean, first of all, it really goes out there with like the main villains being Satanists, and our main character like joins a clan of these Satanists who like torture and kill people. Like this movie's really goes for it when it comes to like the violence and the gore and just being a dark story in general. Also, this the side plot where Dr. Kelson basically trains a zombie and actually almost heals a zombie and all the things it does with that. That's generally my favorite part of the movie, just seeing like him like cure the zombie, basically cure the zombie. Like, I mean, I do think I used to think like curing zombies or like just there being a cure to the zombie apocalypse that is a stupid idea. But after seeing this, and after seeing so many zombie media, so many zombie movies and media with The Walking Dead and even the previous 20 years Days Later films and all these other films and George Romero and just being oversaturated with this genre, for it to be do something this different where they're like curing the zombie and kind of go into his head a little bit in that train scene, which was really good. Yeah, I loved it. I loved it. It was a very heartfelt story, but also very intriguing. And of course, the climax where he's playing, I think, Black Sabbath or something, and you have like that performance and stuff, and it's just like it's just like it's like crazy, it's very weird and crazy and out there, and it really works. So definitely a strong start to the year. I'm gonna put it above the King of Staten Island, I think. Yeah. I watched Project X, which is a classic, I think. Like a found footage classic, and someone who really likes found footage movies to watch one that isn't a horror movie and isn't that one superhero movie of like Michael Jordan, not Coherence. It was I forgot what it was called. Anyways, it is a pretty fun movie. Definitely very entertaining. This party that just goes out of control and everyone comes and is like a comedy of sorts, but you're also very likable characters at the same time. Like it was a very fun experience, you know. I really enjoyed this film, and yeah, I'll just say that it was enjoyable. Um, I'm gonna put it top of C tier, I think. Actually, this may be a hot take, but I'll put it above the Mayor Witch stories. That seems right. That seems right, right? No, okay. There are some scenes that are a little bit annoying. I do think like the characters were a little annoying. I don't know. I'll put it top of C tier, but it was an enjoyable time. I'll say that. Um, did I watch Honey Don't? Oh man, the Coen brothers. What the hell happened there? Um, Listen, Ethan Cohen. I mean, he's a great director, right? Like, I do not think Fargo or Blood Simple, which I'll talk about later, or No Country for Old Men, or The Big Lebowski, or Oh Brother Where Art Thou. I don't think those films would be as good as they are without Ethan Cohen. But if you look at just like what Ethan Cohen has been doing after disbanding from Joel Cohen, you can tell Joe Cullen was the better brother, the more creative brother, and excuse me, yeah, this was just I don't know, man, I don't know, This was definitely not a good movie. Although I will say I don't think the Ballad of Buster Scruggs was a great movie either. It was good but not great. So maybe it started after True Grit. I don't know. Um, but yeah, here, Honey Don't came out last year. Stars Margaret Qualley, has a crazy poster. Look at that. And yeah, it's like the Coen Brothers other movies, where it's like these different characters where they're different agendas, and they're like killing people and such, and it's like a comedy of some points with snappy dialogue. I do think the dialogue is at one hand pretty good, like very snappy and entertaining, and on the other hand kind of dumb. And a lot of this movie is just like really dumb and pointless, like really pointless. Which I usually don't say about the Coen brothers. Like that's kind of their whole style, right? And that's kind of the point of a lot of their movies, that like all these characters go to these great lengths and all these lives are destroyed to like get this money, and then it falls onto no one's hands, which shows in No Country for Old Men and Fargo. And their films kind of have like anti-climaxes a lot of the time, so this shouldn't be a problem. But this film, more than any other Coen Brothers movie, feels very pointless, and like it really didn't lead anywhere, and all these storylines and characters that were introduced just kind of like go out in a very subpar and disappointing and underwhelming way. And none of the characters really like resonate with you or stick with you, and there's one twist that was really stupid, and just like very, very disappointing. Um, Audrey Plaza generally gives like a pretty poor performance here. I didn't like her in this. Yeah, yeah, just not a good movie. Definitely the worst I've seen this year, so far. I'll put it on a D tier. Very, very disappointing. Chris Evans he gives a good performance, I think. He was fun in this movie, but also, again, very one note. Um, then I watched Tusk. Um, Here, another thing about the Coen Brothers. I'll say this real quick. All right, like with Blood Simple and Fargo, their characters had like emotional weight to them, right? They were complex characters. They had reasons for what they were doing. They had reasons for like breaking the law. Like Jerry, he's down on his luck. He's stuck in life. He has no money. Like Willie Loman that I was talking about earlier. Like I resonate with those characters, and with No Country for Old Men, like Josh Brolin's character, you get connected to him. And Blood Simple, all these characters turn stupid once they start killing. I'll get to that more later, but like the characters in Blood Simple are very compelling, especially the main villain of Blood Simple, not the cowboy, but the guy who like orders the hitman to kill her wife. The characters in these movies, even their more comedic adventures, like The Big Lebowski, Brother, Where Art Thou? There's like emotional their characters are like emotionally vulnerable. There's like they're complex characters. There's reasons to what they're doing. Even if the plot is like very directionless and trying to be irrelevant, like the characters, they're like what stands out about Coen Brothers movie. Here, I figured it out. The characters in Honey Don't are like not complex at all. There's like nothing going on with them. They're just like what they are, except for one character has this really stupid plot twist. They just what they are. Like they're very face value. And some characters just add nothing to the movie. They're just there to give snappy dialogue and have like Charlie Day give like a fun performance, but add nothing to the film. Like, that's it. The characters just aren't great, Like Chris Evans, he's the main villain in the movie. He doesn't even feel like a real person. Chris Evans' character doesn't feel like a real person. He feels like a caricature. A lot of these characters in Honey Don't, they feel like caricatures instead of like real people. Where in other Coen Brothers movies, these people feel like real people. The characters in Fargo feel like real people. These feel like caricatures. They feel like cartoon characters. That's why Honey Don't didn't resonate with me. I just figured it out. Anyways, then I watched Tusk by Kevin Smith. This is a film about a guy who turns into a walrus. That's it. That's it. It's like it's very violent too. It really goes into the surgery. I wouldn't say it's like disturbing. Like the gore and the violence is like very out there, very like over the top. So it doesn't really like it's not like realistic. but it is like very like it's a gross movie. It's a gross body horror movie about this guy who slowly gets turned into a walrus by this crazy scientist. And it's really stupid. And I will admit, for the first third, I was actually kind of enjoying it. Like Jason Schwartzman's dialogue, it was very snappy, and you were kind of like really into this interview and their dialogue and their banter and back and forth, and you were really like intrigued into the screenplay and like where he slowly starts losing his legs, like and you just like it really like puts you in his shoes. It's really gross. Excuse me. But then the second half happens, and Johnny Depp is in this movie. He gives like the weirdest performance I think he's ever given. This is like the worst Johnny Depp performance. He is just like completely out there. I do not know what the hell his character was doing. And then the movie just like turns more comedic, like trying to be comedic, not really like naturally comedic. Like this is supposed to be funny, that's supposed to be funny. And aside from the third, the rest of this movie is like barely a movie. There's like no thought put into the shots or even the music behind it. Like it's just like very weird. It's like a student film. So yeah, just like very, very bad movie. With like a good first third, but then the rest of it's pretty bad. I still put it above Honey Don't because it's not as outwardly disappointing. Like you go into a movie like Tusk and you know what you're getting into. With Honey Don't, you're at least hoping it'll be good. You were hoping the reviews would prove you wrong, and the Coen brothers still have it. Ethan Coen doesn't. And then I watched The Elephant Man. Okay, background on David Lynch. I'm not a big David Lynch guy. Okay, I mean I like The Straight Story. I think The Straight Story is the only film he's made that I've actually enjoyed. But Eraserhead is just the weirdest movie I've seen, and I watched a bunch of his short films, and I didn't like that either. So I wasn't a big David Lynch guy. But then I watched The Elephant Man. And I think The Elephant Man is easily the best film I've seen from him. And of course, I need to see Twin Peaks and a few of his other films now that I'm starting to kind of get into David Lynch. But I saw this for theology class. I saw this for my theology class, and I understand why. It's about human kindness and not judging a book by its cover, but not only that, like seeing that cover, seeing this deformity, and still treating someone like a human and how that could change his life. Like, this is based off a real person and the way like his life completely changes and is completely transformed through the kindness of this one other person, and soon like the entire town is just like really, really heartwarming. It's a weird movie. It's a disturbing movie. It's a very dark movie, like literally black and white, but also a dark movie. At the same time, has a very heartfelt message and heartfelt characters. And yeah, I think David Lynch did a great job with this. And I'm gonna put this. I'm gonna put this above No Other Choice, I think. Yeah, that seems right. 1 second. Okay, where was I? I'm Chevy Chase and you're not. So this is a documentary about Chevy Chase. And I don't know if you know this, but Chevy Chase isn't really a great guy. He's not a nice guy. He's kind of a jerk. He's kind of a jerk. And if you know this going in, like it's not that intriguing of a watch. If you don't know this going in, I can see it like really like taking you off guard or something. But a lot of people know this, and the movie, aside from like a few details I didn't know going in, like this movie doesn't really like gives you any new information. Mostly because not a lot of people are interviewed for this. A lot of people were refused to interview for this, which makes sense. Um, but yeah, I kind of wish I went to Chevy Chase's filmography more, like Caddyshack or National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation or that one film he made, Animal Farm, Frisk, Frask, what was that one where he's a detective? That one. Just kind of went to like his classics, his comedy classics, how he became a star, like his time on SNL. I wanted to know more about that. Not really, and I just feel like this documentary didn't really go enough into the things I actually wanted to know about, more so about Chevy Chase as a person, which I'm not as like intrigued by as his filmography, like Chevy Chase, I find a funny guy. I like his films, but it's just like goes too much into him as a person instead of like like what Um, like his filmography. Talking myself to sleep, Jesus. My nose is kind of stuffed. Yeah, I'll put it below 2017, above Bad Trip. No, right there. I think I'll put the Dave Chappelle special above Bad Trip. That seems right. Above a stupid and futile gesture. That's right. Okay. Right here. Then I watched excuse me. I'm out of breath. I don't know why I'm out of breath. I haven't Am I talking myself to be out of breath? I'm like burping a lot. That's not normal. That's No, I think I'm gonna take a break real quick. I'll be right back. All right, we're back. Yeah, I just need to go to the restroom. I watched Speed. I haven't seen this in a few years, so I rewatched it at my great aunt's house, and yeah, this was pretty great. I'll be honest, like this is the most fun I've had watching an action movie since Police Story. Just like a lot of fun, very edge of your seat, every action scene, every stunt, every excuse me, every basically every minute of this movie just is just like full of tension and suspense, and it's just like a really good action movie. It was like a lot of fun as one of like the better action villains of all time. With what's his face and Keanu Reeves, he has some star power. His chemistry with Sandra Bullock is really good, and yeah, just like a really cool premise that this film takes to the mats, and I really enjoyed it. So I'll put this. But this right above the King of Staten Island, I think. No, right below Do the Right Thing. I really love Speed. Then I watched Ex Machina, and I'm surprised to say I really love this movie. This was a really great movie. Yeah, I mean, it's a sci-fi film that's basically Frankenstein, but with an android. Ironically, also starring Oscar Isaac, and what I think is his best performance. He was like a lot of fun in this movie. Just like completely makes you question who's in the right, who's in the wrong. What are these characters? Alliances. What are their morals? Who's the villain, who's the hero, is there neither, are they both like trying to do the right thing? I don't know, like it really like makes you question like every character's morality and their intentions, which is really cool for a film to do with just like three main characters and being a very contained story in this one house and lab, and CGI has aged really well too. The actress who plays the machine is really good. There's one specific needle drop of the score, like this one specific needle drop after someone gets stabbed in the chest. That's just been like stuck with me ever since I seen it. Yeah, definitely one of the best sci-fi movies I've seen. Will I put above Wake Up Dead Man? Let me here. I have a whole list right here. Not that. Still burping. My bad. Sorry you have to hear that. No? Okay. I'll put it right below Wake Up Dead Man. Yeah, I guess that's fair. I think Ex Machina and Wake Up Dead Man are basically equal, but I do think Wake Up Dead Man has um has more rewatchability to it. This will be a very interesting movie to rewatch, knowing the ending, know how everything plays out, and maybe I'll have like a different perspective on like Oscar Isaac's character and what the main character was doing, who's also played by Donald Gleason's character, what he was doing too. Have a different opinion on him. Um, then I watched John Wick 4. I rewatched this, and yeah, it still remains one of the best action movies of all time. I do think Police Story is a notch above it, but when it comes to the actual action, this is like the most consistently impressive. So many stunts that were amazing, so many action scenes. Sometimes it like strains the suspension of disbelief. Sometimes there's a scene that is kind of making you question it a little bit, like why did he go down all those stairs? Where's the police? Stuff like that. Um, but once you like have that suspension of disbelief and you just look at like how this movie looks, just the cinematography, like just ignoring all the stunts, all the fight choreography, that crazy scene in France and all this and all that, and just put that aside for a second. Put that aside. Think about like how this movie looks. This is like one of the best looking movies of the last 5 years. Just like everything down to the cinematography, to the sets, to the lighting, especially the lighting. Um, not only does it shoot the action really good, not only does the action look beautiful, this film looks beautiful with a lot of like very colorful characters, like John Wick, one of the best action movie characters of all time. And the way his character is resolved here is really beautiful, and a great end to this four-movie run. And unfortunately, they're making a fifth movie. Of course they are. Of course they are. Of course they need to milk every franchise. Of course they gotta beat the dead horse a little bit. Just shoot it in the head a couple times. Just keep beating the horse. I really hope John Wick 4 is good. No, John Wick 5 is good. I really hope John Wick 5 is good. But in all honesty, this would have been like such a great way to end it. This would have been such a great jumping off point. If they want to do that, they don't. Yeah. So I'm gonna put this above 12 Angry Men. It's still like a great action movie. Um, and yeah, I watched a lot of S tier movies in a row. Ex Machina, John Wick 4, and now The Godfather Part 2, which I just loved. And unfortunately is like one of the worst movie theater experiences I think I've had in a while, where like this one guy was just yawning every minute. Like this guy wasn't tired. He didn't yawn. He was just yawning because he wanted the rest of the theater to know that he was tired. He didn't like the movie. He wanted us to know he was bored. I don't care. I don't give a shit. Just shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Stop yawning. And there's only like 6 people in the theater. Me and my dad, that guy, and then this couple in like the top right, and they just wouldn't shut up. They were talking and talking and talking, and we got to that really good scene. This really good scene where May tells Michael that she had an abortion and that it was her baby died because she wanted the baby to die, and she just you see like Al Pacino's eyes are like really intense and he just explodes in anger. Just a fantastic scene. And that's when the couple starts talking and just like jokes with each other, like not interested in the movie. I even heard like the woman ask, "Wait, what happened? What happened? You've been talking the whole movie. Get out." That really bothered me. And they wouldn't shut up. They wouldn't shut up until like the end of the movie. Like even like the final scene, they were like, and then they were giggling. And just, shut up, shut up, shut up. Yeah, that really pissed me off. But the movie itself was really good. Like one thing I learned since like watching this the first time to rewatching it is that that scene where John Cusack's character Fredo, he's in the chair. They specifically chose a scene where like he could barely get out of the chair. It's hard to sit up on the chair and show like really like shows authority, like really like stand up for himself. He literally can't stand up for himself. That's a really cool creative choice. I'll give it to him. John Cusack, I think, definitely should have been nominated for an Oscar over Al Pacino, not Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and John Cusack. Those were the two who should have been nominated. I do think Robert De Niro's was really good, but also just like I don't know why he won above John Cusack. He really is a star in that movie, and and Al Pacino, of course, like no other actor I could think of. Maybe Christoph Waltz, but he's like more like more abrasive. His character as Hans Landa. Hans Landa is more abrasive. I think the way Al Pacino just like communicates through his eyes, through his facial expressions, like the intensity of his character, the anger of his character, you just know what he's thinking just through his eyes and the way he can do that. And this film just like takes advantage of his skill. That's really cool to watch. So yeah, I really like The Godfather Part 2. I'm gonna put it in I'm gonna put it above Wake Up Dead Man. I still think the first film is better, and it's not really like the movie's fault. Like this time I understood the plot more, so I don't think there's anything wrong with The Godfather Part 2. I just think the first movie had Sonny. The first movie was more it obviously had Vito Corleone uh played by sorry, what's his name? You know. Vito Corleone played by the guy and Sunny too. And it was just a more fun movie to watch, which I know is a stupid thing to say, but I just had more fun watching it. It was a more entertainment, more lighthearted, and more like a Thanksgiving movie, if you could get my drift. So I still like the first film a little bit more, but Godfather Part 2 is like very closely behind. This is a top 10 movie. I really enjoyed it. Then I watched 1 second. Ooh, sorry. Then I watched Sexy Beast, starring Ray Winstone and co-starring Ben Kingsley and Michael McShane. Great cast right there. Great cast. You gotta admit that's a pretty good cast of usually supporting actors who do a really good job. Um, what's his name? Ben Kingsley. I saw him in an episode of The Sopranos, and then my dad was like, "Hey, this is a good movie he's been in," so we watched. And yeah, I really like Sexy Beast. I wouldn't say it's great, but it's definitely like a pretty good movie, very well directed. I do think there's not a lot to the plot, not a lot to chew on with the plot, like not a lot going on, especially in the second half. But I do think Ben Kingsley's character and Ray Winstone being able to like pull his weight in the scenes as well, like that was very entertaining to watch. Ben Kingsley just playing like a psychopath of the character, and then Ian McShane doing the same at the end and being arguably even more scary than Ben Kingsley. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it, and it was a very intense character drama. I put this below Paths of Glory and above Francis Ha, Sexy Beast. Um, then I watched Yeezus, the Kanye trilogy. Um, yeah, it was really good. The first part was good, not great. Because it didn't really go into the production of his first album, The College Dropout. And sorry, damn. Then I watched the second part, and I think the second part's easily my favorite part because it actually goes into the production and the making of The College Dropout, and I gotta admit, I've never been like more appreciative of In the Wire. Like this documentary made me appreciate In the Wire more than I ever have. So yeah, In the Wire is definitely one of my favorite tracks from the album now. Although I still think I like Jesus Walks and Slow Jams and All Falls Down a little bit more. And We Don't Care. We Don't Care. Not All Falls Down. We Don't Care. I get those two mixed up. Anyways, and Spaceship. I think Spaceship is a little bit better than Through the. If you can't tell, I'm a big Kanye fan. So, but yeah, and then the third part goes into his controversies, and I think like the problem that doesn't really like plague this like I could accept the fact that it doesn't go into the making of Late Registration, which is my favorite album of all time. I can accept the fact that it doesn't go into Graduation, which is also one of my favorite albums of all time. I can accept the fact that it skips over 808s and Heartbreak and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy and Yeezus and The Life of Pablo. It kind of goes into The Life of Pablo. I appreciate that. And it goes into. Here's the albums it does go into: The College Dropout, Jesus is King, and Kids See Ghost. I love two of those. Kissing Ghost is no. Jesus is King is okay, but really, I mean, it doesn't have to be it. But I would really like a documentary going into the production of every single album he made, especially Late Registration, which is again my favorite album of all time. Um, what was it? But yeah, the third part, kind of out of its own control, is disappointing because it's about like his controversies, Kanye's controversies over the years. But unfortunately, he's had a lot bigger controversies after this came out in 2021. He's done like far worse and said far worse things afterwards, so it just kind of feels like tame in comparison to what like comes after, which is out of this documentary's control, but does like weigh down the enjoyment. I didn't even finish part three. I didn't finish the trilogy. So yeah, I mean, I like this. I really like the second part. I thought the first part was good, and the third part is just okay. So I'm gonna put this top of seat here. I think. Yeah, yeah, that's good. That's good. Um, then I watched Enemigos, which is another film I watched for theology class. It's about this guy who gets bullied by this gang member, and then the gang member becomes paralyzed and move that nobody in his family understands. He ends up caring for the guy who's bullying him and trying to kill him instead of partaking in revenge. It's a very heartfelt story, seeing these two guys like become friends and their chemistry and all that. And is it based off a true story? I don't think so. I do think the ending kind of fumbles the bag. Like, I don't know how else they would have ended it, but I feel like it just like it sets up this dilemma only to like back out of the dilemma and not really have a resolution to it. Like, I feel like he's still suicidal by the end of the movie. So okay, again, not going to spoilers. I really like the performances from our two leads. It's a very heartfelt story and very funny, very very funny. I had a good time laughing at this. Yeah, I'm gonna put right in the bottom. Yeah, Ryan Bottom beat. No. Below Project X. I'm sorry. Below Project X, above Milk and Cereal. And then I watched History of the World Part 1, and very unfortunate to say I did not enjoy this. I think I'm gonna put top of D tier, except for a couple of gags that made me laugh, like Moses having three tablets instead of two, and then he drops one of the tablets, and he's like, "Here are the 15 commandments," and then he drops one of the tablets. here are the Ten Commandments. That was funny. That was I can't reenact it as well, but that was pretty funny. But yeah, this movie just like starts off really weak, where it's just like 20 minutes of like these guys acting like cavemen and mumbling and stuff, and it was just not funny. It was really stupid. And then it spends like what feels like a whole hour in like Rome, in ancient Rome, and it introduces a lot of these side characters and stuff. And I felt like if they just like had more periods of history to like make fun of, like all these different periods instead of just here's the Spanish Inquisition, here's Rome, here's the French Revolution. Well, that's enough. Maybe some caveman shit at the start, but that's enough, No, that's not enough. I felt like they could have like covered more ground, and then they spent too much time in Rome. And I will admit the French Revolution is where it, like picks up again a little bit. And there are some good gags, but also a lot of dumb ones, and sometimes even the comedic timing feels a little bit off from some of the side characters, but not from Mel Brooks. I will say, even if I didn't like all the gags, it was kind of a boring movie. Mel Brooks does maybe not writing wise, but like acting wise, carries it on his shoulders. He's always entertaining to watch, a lot of fun, and he's consistently fun and entertaining to watch from beginning to end of this movie. There's not one scene where it feels like he's like half-assing it, or is tired, or is like doing a watered down performance. Which, considering this is like what the eighth comedy he's made in like 10 years, that's pretty impressive to say. He still has it. He still has it. He's passionate. And he's 100 years old and he's still passionate. So we'll see. We'll see if Spaceballs 2 is any good. Unfortunately, seeing a couple of Mel Brooks's lesser films, it does make me a little bit worried, especially since he's not like a big part of Spaceballs 2. I don't think outside of writing. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if Spaceballs 2 is good. And I watched Send Help, which is the new Sam Raimi film about these this boss and his employee who gets stuck on an island, and he kind of mistreats the employee, but once they're there, the power dynamic changes. It's a lot of fun. Sam Raimi, very corny, goofy directing, but in a good way. Very cheesy in a good way. I do think the ending is a little bit morally lopsided. Like they're trying to like come to a conclusion that I don't fully agree with like who's in the wrong, who's in the right. Why do you make me sympathetic for this character just to kill him? I don't think that was all like intentional. But at the same time, a lot of fun. I'm gonna put this. No, I put this below Project X. That seems right. There you go. Um, then I watched The Running Man, and yeah, I mean, isn't it disappointing? Edgar Wright movie that has mediocre reviews when he's like adapting Stephen King book. Like you think it'd be great, and the trailers look really great. But I will admit, like the first half of this is like a lot of fun. Actually, the whole movie is very entertaining to watch. There wasn't one dull moment. But it was a fun watch. Like I honestly, it's like one of the most fun movies I've seen from last year. Well, I haven't seen it last year, but to come out in the last few years, this is like one of the most fun movies come out in the last few years. Maybe messy and sometimes the logic is a little bit off, but Edgar Wright, even though it feels like he's a little bit watered down directing wise, he still like has a lot of energy to this film. It's very well shot. Glenn Powell, he's giving a really fun, entertaining performance. I really love this dystopian world, the blend of dark comedy and action, and yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. It was a fun time, a very entertaining time. But then the last 10 minutes happened, and I thought that was a little bit stupid. I thought the last 10 minutes were kind of stupid, and how it resolutes itself, just more stupid than clever, and yeah, felt like they could have done more with the other two who are being chased, but it was a fun movie. I'll give it that. I'll put it above Yeezus, top of C tier, I think. Then I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Not much to go about here. Is still fantastic. I'll put about below The Godfather Part Two, but above Wake Up Dead Man. That seems right. Can't wait for the adventures of Cliff Booth. Like a Quentin Tarantino script directed by David Fincher, who's known to be a perfectionist when it comes to directing, and I think that'll be really interesting to watch. I just really like Cliff Booth's character. Um, Then I watched Blue Moon, and again, I don't like to use the word pretentious, but I'm gonna be honest, this felt a little bit pretentious from a writing standpoint. It felt a little bit self-indulgent. At the same time, like for a 1 hour and 40 minute movie, for the most part to be entertaining just through dialogue and just be a character-driven story and what it's trying to say about history and its place in history. I found that a little bit of that interesting. Ethan Hawke is giving his best performance, maybe. Yeah, I'll put it. I think I'll put it. I'm sorry, I'm putting so many films around this area, but I think I'm gonna put it below Enemigos. That seems right. Yeah, yeah. Um, then I watched for Fantastic Planet. Almost done. Home run. A Fantastic Planet. This is a French animated film. It's weird, good animation, but also not that great. And a story that I wasn't connected to or any characters I was connected to. I'm gonna put it right below History World, but above Stranger Things season 5. My nose is stuffed. Jesus, 1 second. I watched The Hobbit, but not Peter Jackson's The Hobbit. I watched the animated Hobbit. And even though kind of being a little bit boring and standard, like generic, I do think it was a charming film. It was a fun time. It was charming. I would say, yeah, after the first 20 minutes, I kind of dissociated myself from the plot. I became less interested, but it was a very fun time. Not fun. I'd say charming time. I'm glad I watched it. I'll put it bottom of the seat here. Um, then I watched The Ritual. I heard the book is a lot better. I did like the monster design, and the last 20 minutes was pretty good and kind of terrifying. But the first hour and 10 minutes is like the Blair Witch Project, but without the realism or the putting yourself in the character's shoes ism that makes the Blair Witch Project as good as it is, with like lesser writing and lesser performances. And yeah, I think the last 20 minutes kind of carry it. I'm gonna put it right above Stranger Things season. Actually, above A Fantastic Planet. That seems right. Then I watched Blood Simple, and I'm very very surprised to say this is the second best Coen Brothers movie I think I've seen. This was really good. I'm gonna put it right below Ex Machina and above John Wick 4. I think. Well, there. Okay. Bottom of S tier, I think, but still really good. Oh, sorry. Damn. Wow. Okay. Um, kind of like hits all the marks when it comes to a Coen Brothers movie, Like this guy who tries to like get a hitman to do something to his wife, the very flawed characters, these different like circumstances, characters dying halfway through when you weren't expecting them to, like the main who you thought was gonna be the main villain dying halfway through, and all these like twists and turns and different like intentions and characters and these different subplots like colliding at the end in some interesting ways. And I honestly think one of their best scores, maybe their best score, the best Coen Brothers score of Blood. If you haven't listened to the score of Blood Simple, listen to it. It's pretty good. And yeah, I really like the character who plays the husband whose wife was cheating on him. A good actor, first of all. He has a really memorable face, a very angry face, but also just like a character who's like not a badass. You get the idea that he's not a badass, didn't do anything illegal in his life, but like he's really heartbroken about this. He's angry, he's jealous, and he like goes out of his way to like hire someone to kill these two people, and he doesn't know how to feel about that. He's not like in this business. He's not that type of guy, but he's kind of like twisted into that type of guy. It's a very interesting character, one of their most interesting characters, I'd argue. And yeah, I'd put that as tier. Crime 101. This is, I don't want to say it's a ripoff of Heat, but it is kind of like Heat light. With that said, though, definitely some of the best thriller directing I've seen in recent times. Like this was a pretty well directed film. I really like the performances from Mark Ruffalo, Halle Berry, and all four of the main performances, they were pretty good. Chris Hemsworth, he does a great job as a main character. Very simple character, but also really good performance to back that up. very tense at times. I really like the opening scene and like him almost getting shot and what that does to his character and just kind of like the dilemma behind Chris Hemsworth's character and him committing this crime. Even the way it's all resolves at the end, the resolution of the film kind of like hits it out of the park. I really love the ending. It really came together at the end. Um, and yeah, I mean, it was fun. I was intrigued with how the plot was resolving and playing out, even if at some parts it felt like a little bit like I've seen this before. I've seen this detective character before. I've seen this hard workers being undermined by her bosses before. I've seen all these like caricatures before in other films, but they're done very well and in a really interesting plot that's a little bit too resonant to heat, but also very well directed and kind of its own thing. I'm gonna put this. Well, yeah, I'll put this top of C tier. I think that seems right. Then I watched Marriage Story by Luca Bugacano. Oh wow! Every time I say his name, I think I say it worse. Yeah, you know what I mean by this point, and I think this is easily his best movie. Yeah, I'm gonna put Marriage Story again, bottom of C. Okay, okay, you know what? There. Yeah, yeah, that seems fair. Very intense movie, very not a fun movie. I'll say this, it's not a fun movie to watch. It's a little bit like comedic, but not like outright fun. But at the same time, like really good performances, very good film about this divorce and very realistic depiction of divorce. And just like some of his best writing, his most engaging characters, his most likable character. Well, honestly, Scarlett Johansson's character was a little bit unlikable at times. I feel like it puts you in Charlie's shoes a lot more than it does in her shoes, which is okay. But I feel like it would be more of a even thing when it comes to like the two main characters. They both get like even playing field with like what they're given. I feel like Charlie's character, Adam Driver, he's given a lot more than Scarlett Johansson, even if they both give great performances. But yeah, great film. I really enjoyed it. Definitely a lot of definitely a lot of Luca's best qualities as a filmmaker in one film. Then I watched Hilarious by Louis C.K. Um, yeah, I mean, I really enjoy this one, and now I want to see more Louis C.K. I feel like that's a gold mine of good comedy specials I could watch. Yeah, I'm gonna say right below Drunken Master. I wouldn't say I laughed too much. There were a few times where I like laughed out loud. But most of it is just very clever jokes that I just really enjoyed and a good timing. So, yeah, pretty short too. I do like how it's not like like over top. Yeah. Hmm. Sorry. And then I watched Superbad. Heard a lot about this movie. Has one of the great high school comedies, and that Seth Rogen recently said they haven't made a good high school movie since Superbad, which wow, really shitting on Project X there. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this. I was actually surprised how much I enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun, a lot of different characters I really like. I really like the cop characters, played by Bill Hader and I just said his name. I just said his name. Bill Hader and Seth Rogen. I just said his name. How did I forget his name? I literally just. Well, okay, whatever. Calm down. Calm down. Yeah, Michael Cera, he's good in this. Jonah Hill, they all have great banter and chemistry. Emma Stone too, and yeah, it was a really fun, heartfelt, enjoyable movie, enjoyable comedy, and I just really enjoyed how the film like played out and resolved and unfolded as it went along, and I really had a lot of fun with these like very stupid cops that just like were like just like terrible cops, but like a lot of fun to watch. Um, yeah, I'll put this above Moonrise Kingdom. I really love this one. And I watched Bugonia, which a few hours ago. Weird movie. Really, really weird movie. I'll give it that. It was weird. It was weird. Um, like especially the ending. I was like, yeah, yeah, sure, whatever. Jesse Plemons honestly may be like a top 20 actor of all time. I'm gonna just say that. And this is like one of his best performances, I think. He does a fantastic job in this. Finally, like really getting the spotlight in one of these movies instead of just being a side character. He deserves it. He like gives it his all. Emma Stone, she also does a great job. Whoever plays a brother, and that guy from Tires is in this. He's pretty good, and it's just like a bunch of like tension, and it's like this really weird, tense thriller, and then like explodes in this 2 minutes of just like absolute violence and blood and gore, and then from there it's like 30 minutes of absolute like weirdness and just like the weirdest shit happening. It's just like a lot of fun. It's very entertaining, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna put. I need to see more Yorgos Lanthimos. I'll just stop trying to say people's names. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna stop trying to say people's names. I'm gonna keep names out of my mouth. I'm gonna just stop. I'm gonna just stop, and I'm gonna just slow down on the names. Yeah. Yeah. Below Superbad and above Moonrise Kingdom. No, below Moon. Yeah, below Moonrise Kingdom, above 28 Days Later. And that's my list. There we go. We're done. Not a lot of people show up for this one, but I was a little bit late. It's late. I get it. So yeah, top of S tier, the Hateful Eight and all that, pretty self-explanatory. A tier, yeah, I do think Coherence is better than the Elephant Man, but only by a notch. The Elephant Man really is like a classic. I see why people love that. I really did get me into David Lynch. Now I'm gonna watch more David Lynch. But Coherence is just like such an impressive low budget directorial debut, like an impressive sci-fi film that does a lot with so little, and I just kind of have to respect that as an inspiring screenwriter. Like legit, like watching Coherence made me want to write my own movie. When a film like makes you want to write your own movie, that's like a really good film. And I don't know about No Other Choice about Do the Right Thing. I may switch that around, but Speed again, pretty great. King of Staten Island, I already went over this, like the best Judd Apatow movie, like easily. Even though I really like Knocked Up, I think Knocked Up's pretty good. And yeah, Super Bad right below King of Staten Island. I could get behind that. Yeah, I'm just the stand-up specials. I'm okay with whatever. Like like 2017 isn't that great as the rest of these, but like I don't know, like the bits I can't really remember. They don't stand out to me. And yeah, Honey Dunk's the worst. Tusk is the second worst. Brightburn's the third worst, and all that. So yeah, tell me your list in the comments. Wow, we are nearing 2 hours. It's exactly 2 hours. I'm happy with that. I'm gonna end the stream at exactly 2 hours. So 15 seconds. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and stuff. And yeah, we'll do the same thing next month. Check out the MCU video if you haven't, and have a good week. Gonna stop this exactly.